religion interact, we can already see that these interactions can work in a variety of ways, from the very conflictual to the very cooperative. It's the conflict model that I suspect is the one you think of first when you think of how science and religion interact. We're going to have to examine the extent to which the conflict model is a fair representation of how religion and science have interacted in the course of the history that we're about to be examining. And not to get ahead of myself, but to give you a sense of coming attractions, the conflict model, as common as it is in contemporary conversations, is in fact the least appropriate to apply to the history of the relation of science and religion in the historical period that we'll be investigating over the course of 21 lectures. Before we move directly into the history, let's sketch some of the background issues that will set us up for the historical episodes we're about to look at. First, there's the question of why science and religion might have anything to do with each other in the first place. I see three areas that explain why science and religion, in fact, constantly are interacting with each other, whether it be in cooperative or conflictual ways. The first is because these fields of human endeavor, the attempt to understand God and the attempt to understand nature, both use a set of common words and concepts. Both are interested in questions like the origins of the universe, the extent of human free will, and inasmuch as they're posing similar questions, they will inform, contradict, cooperate with each other. First, science and religion use the same language and pose similar questions. The second reason that science and religion frequently do something together is because the people who are experts in science and religion are often the same people. The disciplines that we think of as scientific or religious are in fact defined by human beings, and there are and have been throughout history people who specialize in both religious fields and scientific fields. Quite aside from the question of who becomes a specialist in scientific or religious fields, we know that there are people who are committed deeply to both human endeavors. People who are interested in understanding nature and people who are interested in understanding God are not mutually exclusive groups of people. And as we turn to the historical phenomenon of science and religion and interaction, we'll see how important it is that virtually everyone who practiced or were committed to the study of and reflection upon the natural world was also deeply committed to certain religious truths and values. That's the second way that science and religion come together, through people, and there is a third way, through institutions. The fact of the matter is that in the historical period that we are going to be looking at, there were institutions that were specifically committed both to advancing the understanding of God and advancing the understanding of religion. When we examine science and religion in interaction in the historical period that we are, what we'll find is that there were a number of institutions that were committed to addressing both issues, namely to advancing the human understanding of God and the human understanding of nature. Institutions that used and funded people who were engaged in both sets of issues. Now, this gives us the three areas at which science and religion come together and reasons that they work together, sometimes cooperatively, sometimes in conflict. At this point, we have to interject the historian's caution that when we think about science and religion, we have to be very conscious of the fact that what we mean by these terms, or what human beings have meant by these terms, has changed over time. And that in fact